It was supposed to be a simple trip, son, soccer and Brazil. But when Judge Judy took her seat that day, she had no idea she was about to unravel a $700 web of trust, broken promises, and one woman's battle between logic and emotion. What began as a World Cup dream ended as a courtroom war, where money wasn't the only thing lost. Love, pride, and friendship were all on trial. The plaintiff, Ms. Correa, a 24-year-old X-ray technician and full-time student, stood nervously under the courtroom lights. Her hands clutched a folder filled with printed emails, screenshots, and hope. She looked young, determined, and hurt the kind of hurt that isn't just about money, but about betrayal. When Judge Judy looked at her, she saw not just a student, but a story waiting to explode. "So, Ms. Correa," Judy began sharply, "you're 24, working part-time, living with your parents, and you decided to give someone $700 for a condo in Brazil for the World Cup?" "Yes, Your Honor," she replied quietly. Judy's eyebrow lifted, that signature look of disbelief the world knows so well. "And now you want your money back?" "Yes, because it was guaranteed refundable." "I have an email that says so." The audience leaned forward. Judy reached out her hand. "Show me that email. If it says what you claim, then this will be a very short case." Ms. Correa handed over the papers. Her heart thumped like a drum. For her, this wasn't just about money, it was about being right. She had trusted someone. She had believed in words typed on a screen. And now, standing before the most no-nonsense judge in America, she prayed that her truth would hold. Judge Judy read silently. Seconds passed like minutes. Then she looked up. Her voice sliced through the silence. "Oh, he doesn't say it's refundable. He says, this deposit of $700 will hold your spot. She promised it would be refundable if plans change." Judy looked directly at Ms. Correa. "He didn't promise you anything." "She, the woman in Brazil, made that promise." The air shifted. Ms. Correa blinked. "But my agreement wasn't with that woman, Your Honor. It was with him. I gave him the check." Judy leaned forward. "Then show me proof that he guaranteed your refund." Ms. Correa's voice cracked slightly. "That would be my proof, ma'am," Judy sighed. "No, my dear. You'll have to sue the woman in Brazil. That's the person holding the money." "But you're not going to Brazil, are you?" The audience laughed softly. Judy wasn't mocking. She was teaching. The defendant, Edward, stood beside his friend, Steve Thomas, both in business casual suits, trying to appear calm but clearly uncomfortable. They had organized a group trip, 6 people renting a luxury condo in Brazil for the World Cup. A dream vacation for soccer lovers. The condo cost $1,000 a night, split among 6 travelers. The plan sounded fun, until 3 of them, including Ms. Correa and her then-boyfriend, backed out. Judge Judy turned to Edward. "You took her $700, sent it to Brazil, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you told her the woman in Brazil said the deposit would be refundable if plans changed?" "Yes." "So she didn't promise you, she promised the woman in Brazil would refund the money?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then why are you standing here?" Judy said flatly, glancing at Ms. Correa. The courtroom erupted in small laughter, but the truth wasn't funny. For Ms. Correa, that $700 represented weeks of hard work, early mornings at the hospital, late nights studying, and dreams of watching the World Cup live. For Edward, it was just logistics. When Judy asked how many people were still going, Edward replied, "They leave in 2 weeks, 3 of us, plus 2 others we recruited." "So you replaced her spot?" Judy asked. "Partially," he said hesitantly. Judy's tone sharpened. "Partially? Either you did or you didn't," Steve spoke up nervously. "Your Honor, the new people are only staying part of the time. 6 nights, 13 nights. Not the whole 3 weeks. So you got her $700 covered?" Judy pressed. Steve hesitated again. Partially." Judy slammed her pen down. "No, not partially, totally. If you replaced her, you can't keep her money. You don't get to profit off someone canceling." The audience burst into laughter again, but beneath it was tension, the kind that fills a room when justice begins to balance. Edward shuffled his papers. "We're still out of money, Your Honor," he argued. "Some of the time we'll only have 4 people. We had to pay more to cover the missing ones." Judy's voice softened slightly, but her authority didn't. "So you replaced some, not all. That means you can't refund yet, but you also can't double earn from her deposit. Then came a turn no one saw coming. Judy asked, "Did you return money to the other 2 people who canceled?" Edward looked down. "We returned some to one of them. Why not her?" Judy asked sharply. "Because she sued me and—" "The money went through her boyfriend. We assumed he would split it." "Her boyfriend?" Judy's eyes narrowed. "Who is that?" Miss Correa inhaled deeply. "My ex-boyfriend, Your Honor." "Oh, that's a problem," Judy said dryly. "Let me guess. You 2 broke up?" Miss Correa nodded with a faint, bitter smile. It was a blessing in disguise, actually. The audience laughed again, but Judy wasn't smiling. "They sent the refund to your ex, and he didn't share it. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Well," Judy sighed, "you've got bigger problems than a deposit. It wasn't just a money issue anymore. It was personal." Ms. Correa's voice shook as she explained, "He was supposed to be our point of contact. But he doesn't represent me. He doesn't have power of attorney over me." Judy nodded. "And yet you let him control the money. That was your mistake. You trusted the wrong person." The courtroom quieted. Even the hum of the air conditioner seemed to pause. You could almost feel everyone thinking about the people they'd trusted, the money they'd handed over, the blind faith that often ends in heartbreak. Edward tried to defend himself. "Your Honor, her boyfriend gave me both checks, one from her, one from him. I wired it all to Brazil. When the plans changed, I sent one refund to him. I assumed he'd divide it." "Assumed?" Judy's tone rose. "You assumed someone who broke up with her would give her money back?" Edward hesitated. "I didn't have her contact information." "And that's your excuse?" Judy leaned closer. "Let me tell you something. Assumptions are expensive, especially when they're made with someone else's $700. The room buzzed. People nodded. Judy wasn't just judging, she was teaching life. But then she turned back to Miss Correa, her voice steady but kind. "You don't have a legal right to that money right now. He didn't guarantee a refund. He acted as a middleman. The person who made the promise was in Brazil. That's the law." Miss Correa's face fell. "So I lose everything?" Judy tilted her head. "Not necessarily. You're entitled to any leftover money if they aren't out of pocket after the trip. But you have to wait." She paused, then added, "and keep good records. Because if he ends up making a profit off you, I'll be the first one to call it back." Edward nodded humbly. "Yes, ma'am," Judy continued. "And next time you handle group money, make sure you have everyone's contact information. You don't hand refunds to boyfriends who disappear." "Yes, ma'am." Then Judy asked one last question, the kind that pierced deeper than legalities. "Did you even know this boyfriend?" Edward shook his head. "Not really. He came up to me at a concert once and said, 'Hey, Ed.' I didn't even recognize him." Judy blinked. "So you trusted a stranger with other people's money?" He laughed nervously. "I guess I did." "Well, you've all learned something today," Judy said, tapping her pen. "That trust is worth more than any deposit, and when it's broken, everyone pays a price." The gavel hit. Case dismissed. But the story didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. Outside the courtroom, Ms. Correa stood on the steps, the afternoon sun in her eyes. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't defeated either. The lesson had hit her harder than the loss. Trust must always be written, not spoken. In the weeks that followed, the World Cup began, and social media was filled with pictures of beaches, stadiums, and cheering crowds. Somewhere in Brazil, the condo she paid for was filled with laughter she helped pay for. But she didn't watch in bitterness. Instead, she watched and thought about how life sometimes teaches you through loss. Edward and Steve returned from Brazil tan, tired, and a few $100s poorer than they expected. They didn't make money off the trip, Judy made sure of that. And though they never spoke to Miss Correa again, Edward often told people at parties, "You know, I once got yelled at by Judge Judy, and she was right." Ms. Correa eventually finished school, became a full-time radiologist, and learned to triple-check every agreement. She would often tell friends, never trust a promise without a signature, especially when it's about money, and never give your refund to your ex. Because the truth is, this wasn't just a case about $700, it was a reflection of human nature. We trust, we assume, we believe that people mean what they say. But as Judge Judy reminded the world that day, assumptions cost money. When you strip away the legal talk and the laughter, this story is really about one simple truth. People don't lose money as much as they lose faith. And regaining faith takes more than a refund. It takes wisdom. Lesson: never hand over your trust without reading the fine print. Never assume good intentions replace real proof. Money can be earned back, but trust once spent foolishly becomes the most expensive lesson of all.